Hello everyone, myself Shankla Singh. Welcome to SS Medical Classes. Today we will discuss about liver function test, that is LFT. We already know liver is a central organ of our body. First we will see the major functions of the liver. First is the metabolic functions, that is we can see glycogenesis. What is glycogenesis? Glycogenesis is the formation of the glycogen, and the gluconeogenesis is formation of the glucose from the non-carbohydrate compound, that is formation of the glucose from non-carbohydrate compounds. And glycogenolysis, that is a breakdown of the glycogen. The lysis word here represent the breakdown, so breakdown of the glycogen. And the Krebs cycle also is performed here, takes place here, and it is the only site for the conversion of the galactose and the fructose into glucose. Liver is the only site for the conversion of the galactose and the fructose into the glucose, and it is the only site for the esterification of the free cholesterol. Esterification of the free cholesterol. So these are the metabolic functions. What first is our glycogenesis, that is formation of the glycogen, and gluconeogenesis, that is formation of the glucose from the non-carbohydrate compound, and glycogenolysis, that is breakdown of glycogen, and Krebs cycle. And it is the only site for the conversion of galactose and fructose into the glucose, and only site for the esterification of the free cholesterol. What is the significance of storage function? When there is extra glucose in blood, it is converted into glycogen and stored in liver and skeletal muscles. When there is a need of the glucose, glycogenolysis takes place, and there is a availability of the glucose in the blood. Hence, blood glucose level is maintained normal. When there is any defect in the mechanism, there is frequent hypoglycemia. Glycogenesis and glycogenolysis need many enzymes. When the enzymes are not available or not functional, then they result in glycogen storage disease (GSD). And when any person or child is suffering from glycogen storage disease, it have exercise intolerance, that is it cannot perform exercise, or have frequent episodes of muscle weakness and fatigue and hypoglycemia. There are almost 19 types of glycogen storage disease. The most common is the type 1A, that is von Guericke disease. In this disease, there is a deficiency of enzyme glucose 6 phosphatase or its transporter protein. Breakdown of glycogen into glucose not takes place, so there is an excessive buildup of glycogen, which cause the frequent episodes of hypoglycemia and liver enlargement and kidney. And some excretory functions like bile pigments, bile salts, and the cholesterol excreted in the bile into the intestine. And liver microsomes contain some enzymes P450, 4A3 for the metabolism of the drugs which convert lipid soluble foreign substances to water soluble to water soluble substances, so which can readily excreted through our kidney. So liver microsomes contain enzyme P P450 4A3 for the metabolism of the drugs, which converts a lipid soluble foreign substance into water soluble substance, and which can readily excreted through kidney. Now our liver also performs some protective functions and also takes part in detoxification. Protective function, as we all know, that the liver have Kupffer cells. The basic function of the Kupffer cells is phagocytosis, and here the ammonia is detoxified to urea. ammonia Ammonia is detoxified to urea urea cycle through urea cycle, which is then excreted by our kidney. This is a major function, and here metabolism of xenobiotics also take place. What is xenobiotics? What do you mean by xenobiotics? So xenobiotics is nothing. Xenobiotics is the conversion of more harmful conversion of more harmful substances to to less harmful, or we can say less soluble to more soluble. Metabolism of xenobiotics basically helps in the conversion of more toxic substances to the less toxic substances. So these are the protective functions. Kupffer cells perform phagocytosis, takes part in phagocytosis, and here the ammonia is detoxified to urea through urea cycle, and which is readily excreted by kidney. And the metabolism of the xenobiotics, here the more toxic or more harmful substance get converted into less harmful substance. Now the ammonia level. The normal serum ammonia is 40 to 70 microgram per deciliter. Microgram per deciliter. The normal range of serum ammonia is 40 to 70 microgram per deciliter. If the ammonia is raises, it indicates the liver is not able to convert ammonia into urea. If our serum ammonia level get raised up, then it indication that our liver is not able to convert the ammonia into urea, and it is usually raised in hepatic coma or hepatic encephalopathy. Hepatic coma and hepatic encephalopathy, and it raises from the normal to the 250 microgram per deciliter. It raised beyond from normal to 250 microgram per deciliter. So serum ammonia level also indicates liver damage, like our liver is not able to convert the ammonia into urea, so that so our serum ammonia level is elevated. Now hematological functions. Liver takes part in the formation of the blood, but it is particularly in the embryo, and it also responsible for the biosynthesis of the powerful anticoagulant. Uh, Heparin. Heparin is a powerful anticoagulant which prevent the intravascular thrombosis, and it also maintains the consistency of the blood. The liver takes part in the biosynthesis of the powerful anticoagulant, that is heparin, and which prevent the intravascular thrombosis and maintains the consistency of the blood. And liver is the only site for the biosynthesis of the plasma albumin. It is most important point here. It is the only site for the biosynthesis of plasma albumin and prothrombin. 80% of the globulin is synthesized in liver. The remaining 20% is synthesized some elsewhere. So what now we will talk about significance of albumin globulin ratio. So the Ag ratio is decreased. It means our liver is not synthesizing albumin. So the liver will be diseased, and the Ag ratio also decrease in renal diseases such as nephrotic syndrome, and fibrogen, which is an blood clotting factor, it also decreases. So in this condition liver is also diseased. So these are the two signs. So Ag ratio will decrease. It means our liver is not synthesizing albumin. As we already know that liver is the only site for the albumin synthesis. And in renal diseases also Ag ratio decreases, such as nephrotic syndrome, and fibrogen also decrease, that is our liver is diseased. Now second, storage functions. Liver has some storage functions also. It stores glycogen. 80 to 100 grams of glycogen is stored in our liver. 80 to 100 grams of glycogen. And if a person is not eating, the glycogen stores will almost entirely used up in 12 to 24 hours. In 12 to 24 hours, the glycogen stores will all used up. And there are some fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K are also stored. Vitamin A, D, E, and K. And water soluble vitamins like water soluble vitamin B12 is also stored here. So these are the storage functions. Glycogen is stored in 80 to 100 gram, which is used up in 12 to 24 hours if a person is not eating. And so some fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, K are stored, and one water soluble vitamin B12. Now we will see the what are the common signs of the liver damage. Like we can see in a patient. First is a jaundice. Jaundice we can see in the sclera. In the sclera, yellow discoloration of the sclera. The serum bilirubin level, if more than 2.5 milligram per deciliter, then it will be seen in the sclera of the patient, yellow discoloration. And second is the abdominal issues, that is the fluid retention in the abdomen, that we call ascites. Ascites is what? Fluid retention. And we can see the leg swelling, accumulation of the fluid in legs, ankles, and the feet. And we can also see changes in the stool and the urine changes. The urine will be dark colored, and the stools are pale or clay colored. And the some more clinical symptoms are like pigmentation on the neck, Palmer erythema, the flapping tremor. Flapping tremor is a sign of the hepatic encephalopathy. So these are all the common signs of the liver damage. That is, first is jaundice, abdominal issues like the fluid retention in the abdomen, that is ascites, and the leg swelling, accumulation of the fluid in the legs, ankle, and the feet. Fourth is our stool and the urine changes, and pigmentation of the neck, Palmer erythema, flapping tremor. So now we will see the what are the causes of the liver damage. Why our liver get damaged? First is the alcohol abuse. First is the alcohol abuse. Chronic and excessive alcohol consumption may damage our liver cells. Damage liver cells. Which leads to inflammation of the liver. First is the alcohol abuse, that is chronic and excessive alcohol intake can damage our liver cells, that will lead to inflammation. And second is the obesity and the fatty liver. This causes due to the unhealthy diet. This causes due to the unhealthy diet like fats, sugar, and processed food. Processed food. It increase inflammation and or also cause fatty liver. And viral hepatitis, that is a long term infection from hepatitis B, C, D viruses, can cause significant liver damage. And there is one autoimmune hepatitis in which the our body's immune system damage attack its own liver cell. Body immune system attack its own liver cells, and it cause inflammation and damage. Cause inflammation and damage. There are some genetic conditions. First is our hemochromatosis, and second is Wilson's disease. What is hemochromatosis? Hemochromatosis is a excessive excessive iron storage. Excessive iron storage. Iron storage. And Wilson's disease is the excess copper builds up in the liver. When excess copper builds up in liver. So these are the causes of the liver damage. First is the alcohol abuse. If we take excessive alcohol intake, then it will damage liver cells, which will lead to inflammation. And the obesity, second is the obesity and the fatty liver. It is due to the unhealthy diet, that is the fats, sugar, or we also take some processed food nowadays. And the viral hepatitis, long-term infection from the hepatitis B, C, D. There is one autoimmune hepatitis. In this, our body immune system attack its own liver cells and cause inflammation and the damage. The two genetic conditions are hemochromatosis and the Wilson's disease. Hemochromatosis is excessive iron storage, and Wilson's disease excessive copper buildup in liver. Now, what is bilirubin? Bilirubin is a bile pigment excreted. It is an excreted end product of heme degradation, and the bilirubin get conjugated in the liver and form bilirubin diglucuronide and excreted in the bile. So bilirubin is a bile pigment. It is an excretory end product of the heme degradation, and it get conjugated in the liver, and after conjugation it form bilirubin diglucuronide and excreted in the bile. Now we will see the normal ranges of the serum bilirubin. It is an important factor. So the normal range should be between 0.2 to 1 milligram per deciliter. There are two types of bilirubin: conjugated bilirubin, that we also call direct bilirubin, and unconjugated bilirubin, that we call indirect. So the normal range of the conjugated bilirubin, that is direct, is 0.2 to 0.4 milligram per deciliter, and unconjugated is 0.2 to 0.6 milligram per deciliter. So these are the normal ranges. The normal range of serum bilirubin is 0.2 to 1 milligram per deciliter, and conjugated, that is our direct, is 0.2 to 0.4 milligram per deciliter, and unconjugated, that is indirect, is 0.2 to 0.6 milligram per deciliter. Now we will see Vandenberg reaction. Vandenberg reaction is usually it identify the increase in the serum bilirubin. It is specific reaction to identify the increase in the serum bilirubin. Now what is the mechanism of the reaction? In the mechanism of the reaction, first we see what is a Vandenberg reagent. Vandenberg reagent is a mixture. Vandenberg reagent is a mixture of equal volume of sulfonilic acid and sodium nitrite. So, Vandenberg reagent is a mixture of equal volumes of sulfonilic acid and the sodium nitrite. Here, the principle of this reaction. What is the principle of this reaction? Principle of this reaction is that the sulfonilic acid react with bilirubin. Sulfonic acid react with bilirubin and it form a purple colored compound called azobilirubin. So this is our mechanism of the reaction, like how the Vandenberg reaction takes place. A sulfonilic acid react with bilirubin and it form a purple color compound which is known as azobilirubin. Now we will see what are direct and indirect reactions. We know bilirubin is water insoluble. Bilirubin is water insoluble. But conjugated bilirubin, that is our direct. Conjugated bilirubin is water soluble. So the Vandenberg reagent, what is Vandenberg reagent? We have already seen that Vandenberg reagent is a equal volume of mixture of equal volume of sulfonilic acid and the sodium nitrate. So the Vandenberg reagent react with conjugated bilirubin and it gives a purple color compound, that is azobilirubin. In what time? Immediately, in 30 seconds. So it is called direct positive. First. And second, addition of the methanol. Methanol addition dissolves unconjugated bilirubin, and then it gives a Vandenberg reaction within 30 minutes. First, our conjugated bilirubin is given the reaction in 30 seconds, and unconjugated will give the reaction in 30 minutes. Now, third, if the serum contains both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin, then it produced immediately the purple color, which is direct positive, and it intensified by the addition of the methanol, which uh, uh, which comes in about 30 minutes, that is our indirect positive. So this type of reaction is known as biphasic. Here in second one it is indirect positive. In second one it is indirect positive. So first is our direct positive, in which the Vandenberg reagent react with conjugated bilirubin, and it forms a purple color compound which is known as azobilirubin in 30 seconds. A second is our on addition of methanol, it dissolves the unconjugated bilirubin in 30 minutes, and it gives indirect positive test. Third is if the serum conjugated bilirubin and unconjugated both are present in the serum, then it will give the biphasic reaction. So mainly, what is the use of the Vandenberg reaction? Vandenberg reaction is used to identify the nature of the jaundice. There are three types of the jaundice. We will see the type of the jaundice is characterized by increase in the serum concentrations of, if the unconjugated bilirubin is increased, that is our indirect, then hemolytic jaundice will be there. If our conjugated bilirubin is increased, then there will be obstructive jaundice, or if both serum conjugated bilirubin and the unconjugated bilirubin both are increased, that will cause hepatic jaundice. So there are three types of jaundice. First is our hemolytic jaundice, second is obstructive jaundice, third is hepatic jaundice. Vandenberg reaction mainly used to identify the what is the nature of the jaundice. So in hemolytic in hmm. In hemolytic jaundice, there is our Vandenberg reaction give indirect positive, and then in obstructive jaundice, the Vandenberg reaction is direct positive, and in hepatic jaundice, it is biphasic. Now we will see bilirubin in urine. As we know that the conjugated bilirubin is water soluble, so it get excreted in urine. The bilirubin in urine can be measured or can be seen by performing two tests. First is a Fauci's test, and second is a Gamelin's test. So these are the two tests, Fauci's test and the Gamelin's test. Now we will move towards a next test, that is BSP test. BSP test is uh, bromosulfathylene test. It is a dye. It is a dye. It is used to assess. It assess the excretory functions of the liver. And it is non-toxic compound, and it is excreted by our liver. It is non-toxic and excreted by our liver. Further, BSP, that is bromosulfathylene, is administered. BSP administered intravenously. How much amount is administered? It is very important. That is 5 milligram per kg of body weight. 5 milligram per kg of body weight administered intravenously, and its serum concentration is measured at 45 minutes duration and 2 hours. So in a normal individual less than, if we see the normal individual less than 5% of the dye, is retained at end of 45 minutes. 45 minutes. So if there is an if there is an increasement in the retention of the dye, then it indicates a impairment in the liver function. So what is BSP? BSP is bromosulfatolin test. It is a dye which is non-toxic, and assess the it mainly assess the excretory functions of the liver, and it is non-toxic, excreted by the liver. First, the BSP is administered intravenously, like 5 mg per kg of body weight, and it is measured at 45 minutes and a 2 hours duration. In a normal individual, less than 5% of the dye is retained at the end of the 45 minutes. If this level get increased up, then it will indicate the impairment in the liver function. Now we will see there are three serum enzymes which are derived in the liver, from liver. First is our transaminase or aminotransaminase, that is ALT or AST. ALT is alanine transaminase, AST is aspartate transaminase. Second is alkaline phosphatase, that is ALP, and the third is GGT, gamma glutamyl transpeptide. These are the three serum enzymes derived from the liver. First is transaminase or aminotransaminase, that is ALT and the AST. Second is the ALP, and the third is GGT. First we will see uh, transaminase or aminotransaminase. So first is SGPT. SGPT is serum glutamate pyruvate transaminase, SGPT. And nowadays recently this is also called ALT, that is alanine transaminase. And second is our SGOT, it is serum glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase, and it is also called AST, that is aspartate transaminase. Now we will see the normal level of ALT and AST. The normal level of ALT should be 5 to 40 international unit per liter, and AST 5 to 45 international unit per liter. In liver damage, our serum ALT and AST are increased. However, the SGOT, that is our AST, can be increased in heart diseases also, like myocardial infarction. So SGPT, we see SGPT is more sensitive, more and more reliable of for LFT. And what is now we will see the ratio. The normal AST ALT ratio should be 0.8. The normal AST ALT ratio should be 0.8. It get increased more than 2 in myocardial infarction and alcohol hepatitis and cirrhosis. And the AST ALT ratio decreases in hepatocellular damage. So the normal AST and ALT ratio is 0.8, and it get increased more than 2 in myocardial infarction, alcohol hepatitis and the cirrhosis. It get decreased in the hepatocellular damage. The more, if we talk about which is a more reliable, more sensitive, then we can see SGPT, that is serum glutamate pyruvate transaminase, is more sensitive towards LFT. Now second, we will see alkaline phosphatase, that is ALP. First, it is the alkaline phosphatase is mainly derived from bone and liver. In liver, the cells which are lining the bile canaliculi. Canaliculi. The normal ALP level is 3 to 13 unit per deciliter. The normal ALP level is 3 to 13 unit per deciliter. And if there is a rise in serum ALP, a rise in serum ALP, it is associated with elevated serum bilirubin. Associated with elevated serum bilirubin. Bilirubin, and which is an indicator of obstructive jaundice, or we can say post hepatic jaundice. And ALP is also increased in liver cirrhosis and hepatic tumors. So ALP is alkaline phosphatase, and it mainly derived from the bone and the liver, and in liver the cells which are lining the bile canaliculi, and the ALP is normal level is 3 to 13 unit per deciliter, and the serum ALP there is a rise in the serum ALP, which is associated with the elevated serum bilirubin, and which is an indicator of obstructive jaundice. And it also the serum ALP also rises in the liver cirrhosis and the hepatic tumor. This is all about ALP, alkaline phosphatase. Now third, our serum enzyme which is derived from the liver is GGT. GGT is what? Gamma glutamyl transpeptidase, GGT. GGT is a microsomal enzyme. GGT is a microsomal enzyme which is widely distributed in the body tissues, including liver. And by measuring the GGT level, it is a sensitive index. To assess liver abnormality. The normal level of the serum GGT is 5 to 40 international unit per liter. The normal level is 5 to 40 international unit per liter, and it gets elevated in the biliary obstruction and alcoholism. So this is all about GGT, and it is a microsomal enzyme which is widely distributed in the body tissues and liver. Also, the normal level of GGT is 5 to 40 international unit per liter, and it get elevated in biliary obstruction and alcoholism. Now in the end, we will see how LFT can be assessed. LFT can be assessed clinically. First, exercise intolerance. Exercise intolerance in the liver damage cause muscle wasting and reduce exercise capacity. The person will not be able to perform exercise. And second is a frequent hypoglycemia. As we know, frequent hypoglycemia and liver diseases occur because of the liver dysfunction. It impairs the liver's ability to either store glycogen or to produce glucose. It impairs liver's ability to store glycogen and to produce glucose, leading to low blood sugar levels, especially during fasting. And now the third one we will see, it decreased appetite. The person might not feel interested in food, or eating might make you feel nauseous. Now the fourth one is abdominal distension. Abdominal distension is due to the fluid retention, often caused by ascites. Ascites, a buildup of the fluid in the abdominal cavity due to cirrhosis. Now, caput medusae. Caput medusae refers to the appearance of the swollen or the varicose veins radiating from the belly button across the abdomen, and the root cause of the caput medusae is a portal hypertension. Portal hypertension. The root cause of caput medusae is portal hypertension, which is an increase in the blood pressure in the portal vein. So these are the signs which can be assessed. LFT can be assessed clinically. Now we can perform some lab test, like we have already seen SGPT or ALT, SGOT or AST, serum ammonia. That the normal range of the serum ammonia is 40 to 70 microgram per deciliter. 40 to 70 microgram per deciliter. And serum albumin and globulin, we can also perform. Serum albumin, as we already know, the liver is the only site for the biosynthesis of the albumin. So there is a decreasement in the range of the albumin. And we can also do clotting profiles. First is PT, that is prothrombin time. APTT, activated partial thromboplastin time. And the INR, international normalized ratio. In liver damage, all the clotting factors are decreased. All the clotting factors will decrease, and INR, that is international normalized ratio. APTT, that is activated partial thromboplastin time. PT is the prothrombin time will be increased. These all will increase. So these are the lab tests. Now we will see some non-invasive tests. Ultrasound we can perform to see the fluid filled, and CT scan we can perform. Fibroscan, the most important one is the fibroscan. It measures two things. It measures, first is the grading of the fatty liver, that is fat accumulation. Second is the liver stiffness, that is LSM. LSM is measured in kilopascal, and the normal range of the LSM is from 0 to 7 kilopascal. Increased, if there is a increased in LSM, it indicates more fibrosis or scarring of the liver. The result of the fibrosis are expressed as the normal is F0 from 2 to 7 kilopascal. The normal is F0, that is 2 to 7 kilopascal. And a mild fibrosis we see. Mild fibrosis F1, that range from 7.1 to 10 kilopascal. 7.1 to 10 kilopascal. And moderate fibrosis, that is from 10.1 to 13 kilopascal. And the severe fibrosis F3, from 13.1 to 16 kilopascal. And the cirrhosis of the liver is from 16 to 25. And the fat accumulation, that is steatosis, measured by control attenuation parameter, that we call CAP, control attenuation parameter. The higher the CAP, higher the CAP, higher is the accumulation of the fat in the liver. Higher is the accumulation of the fat in the liver. Controlled attenuation parameter, CAP value, it suggests about the stages of the fatty liver. Grade 1 from 220 to 260. Grade 2 from 260 to 320. Grade 3 is more than 320. That is 700 to 800 gram of fat is present in 1.2 to 1.5 kg of liver. IQR, that is interquartile range. It tells about the reliability of the CAP values. Its normal range is 0.3 or 30% of median value. If it is more then it is due to the obesity or technical error. invasive, we can perform liver biopsy. LFT can be assessed clinically or by lab test, non-invasive and the invasive. So this is all about LFT. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.